I don't care what you say, do. I am still Mistress Edith, they do. Bailey, they take back my TV set, and I never keep fees in the market yet. Now the husband shame, he couldn't take no more. He tell the wife, girl, come let me go. He holds she hand and he pulling she, but she talking away from him. The babu may say, yes, you manly go. You better take she away for true. She now you so dotish and borrow keep. What she give to rob is that you take and eat. He say, listen, young woman, stop making strides. You want to put me against my wife. In front of me face, you're lying on she. My wife ain't have nobody with me. I know that man you're speaking about. That is her cousin who comes from south. When he come home with a sleeping tree, sometime I say, does hate me for me.
This is Power 102, empowering you. Sexplosion is on Power 102, and now on new days and at new times. The country's most informative sex education program, Sexplosion, is on every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. and Fridays from 9 p.m. to midnight with Dr. Raj, the guru of sex in the Caribbean.
A lot of times we think that sex is totally below the waist.
Call?
No, but yeah, I didn't skip here in time. We are looking at 6 minutes past 7 on this year, Thursday, 20th day of September 2018. Raj is in the studio, Dr. Raj is in the studio with me. Sexplosion starts now. Good evening, Dr. Raj.
Pleasant good evening to you and to all the listeners out there, those of you viewing on Facebook, Instagram, the app. Pleasant good evening.
Yes.
Thanks for joining me this evening to talk about things of a sexual nature, sex education for you.
Yes.
This is where you get all the information that should help you with a better relationship and make you a better person. And one thing we must understand, which is sex is not the most important thing in your relationship, but it is the cement that binds your relationship together. It is what that keeps you and your partner happy. It is what that it is the one element that really brings you together in a joyous way 99.9% of the time when you're talking about sex and sexual intercourse.
Of course.
But it's not only the act of sexual intercourse, but it's all the things that goes with it. And a lot of times we don't prepare ourselves before, because there's something called foreplay. But there's an act way before foreplay, you know. And that is your interaction with your partner and how you make your partner feel.
Yeah.
And if you're interacting with your partner and you don't make him or her happy, or you don't make him and her feel wanted, you're going to have a hard time.
True.
And lots of time we don't pay attention to these little things. We don't pay attention to the simple little things with our partner to keep them happy and to make them want us. And especially when you're in a relationship for many, many years, there's something called complacency, and that sets in, and you take it for granted that your wife is your wife, and your husband is your husband, and you own him or her, and because you own him or her, everything will be rosy. It is not. A marriage, a relationship is a work in progress all the time, regardless of how long you're married. You may be married for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, all the way up to 50 years, 60 years, and you still have to work on it. And working on it is not an easy thing because people change as they age.
Exactly.
And sometimes the things that will excite you or make you feel good about your partner when you were younger, you don't feel that way. And that's a very important thing to note, and I'll tell you what is important about it. When you decide, or when you fall in love, when you see someone and you fall in love with that person, you fall in love with certain characteristics of the individual. You know? The first thing, because we use sight,
Yeah, that attraction.
that's the first thing, the attraction that you have for the person based on sight. Now, what are the things that you look for when it comes to sight? You look for a certain body type, you look for height, you may look for race, you may look for color, and all these things play. Although you may say, I am not prone to do those things, but your subconscious mind will have you looking for someone that you are attracted to. And the same thing happens to your partner. But once you get married and you're in the relationship, or you're living together, or you're going around as boyfriend and girlfriend, there are subtle changes that will take place in the physical aspect of the individual, that your subconscious mind will note those things also. Another thing is the characteristics of the individual when it comes to their behavior, the way they carry about themselves, their conduct, the way they speak of others, the way they interact. All those things, you are building a data bank on the person. So if the person you are physically attracted to have the characteristics that you enjoy in a person, and whether we like it or not, we look for someone who has close traits or behavior to our parents, if you have both parents living with you, or you look for certain traits based on your mother or your father. You look for those things, because if you have a good family life, there's stability there. You will use that as a measuring stick or a measuring rod to choose your partner. And that's just normal. If you're working for, let's say for example, you're working in a company or an environment, and you have a very good boss, a likable boss, a boss who is compassionate, a boss who is understanding, and let's say for some reason you leave that job and you move on to another job, that's the person, that boss that you had before is who you compare your next boss to, you know. And you would like to have someone either on par with that last boss or better. And that's what we do as human beings. We do that. We need to have something to measure by. That's why you hear when someone sees a car, to this day, they say, "Ah boy, that's looking like a Benz."
Yeah.
Or driving like a Benz. To this day, despite the fact that there are numerous amount of new cars coming out, new brands and whatever, Benz is still the brand that you compare cars to. So it's the very same thing with you as a person. We'll be comparing the person you're with to either your mother or your father, especially if you grew up in an environment that is very stable, very loving, very caring. You will want persons with that characteristics. So you end up getting someone like that, and you develop in a relationship. You decide to get married. There are things that come with marriage. There's a certain level of commitment. It's a little, well, not a little, that's much different from just living with somebody. There's stability in a marriage. There's supposed to be this amount of understanding and coming together with one goal to achieve certain things in life. And that's what we want to do. But do we pay attention to these things? And do we pay enough attention to these things? Do we let it just go by from day to day and say, well, okay, I am in a relationship, I'm married to this person, my spouse is my spouse, and they belong to me. So I'm complacent now. I don't need to do the things I used to do before. I don't have to look out for anything because I already have my spouse under wrap. And because we feel that way, the simple little things that we have to do to encourage, now we all need encouragement. You could be the best batsman in the world. When you go out there on the field, if the man who on the other end is not encouraging you, you are not going to perform 100%. You could be the best footballer on the field. If when after a game, the commentators don't have positive comments about you, you don't feel good about yourself. So we all need encouragement. So what are you doing to encourage your partner? if there's an anniversary or birthday or something coming up, are you doing anything for that person in remembrance of the day? Do you remember the day? Do you remember the simple little things to tell your partner, your spouse? And many times we fail with this. Sometimes we take it for granted. We take it for so much so that when we wake up in the morning, we forget to tell our spouse good morning. Or we forget to tell them I love you. All these little things we have to pay attention to if we want to continue to have a good relationship. And don't expect it to be 50-50. Sometimes it might be 70-30, 90-10. But the little things that count, you have to know the characteristic of your partner. You have to know how he or she will behave, how your spouse will behave in certain instances, how they express themselves. And those are the things that you have to look at. What are the things that are going to give you the feeling of being wanted, and thus the encouragement from your partner. Now, that word encouragement is very important to note. Why? The more you are encouraged by your partner when it comes to showing appreciation, when it comes to being appreciated, the more you are encouraged by your partner, the more you do. The less you are encouraged is the less you do. Always note that.
It's true.
Because you want to feel wanted, and you want to do things to make sure that the person know that they're wanted. But remember, we were talking about the subconscious mind earlier. If there are drastic physical changes with the individual, that could be a turn-off, or it could be something that pushes you away from your partner. And lots of time that is what happens in a relationship. If there's gradual changes, and with those gradual changes, the admiration is still there, the love is still there, it will grow. So despite the fact that the person might be putting on weight or whatever, that doesn't matter because it is growing gradually. But if there's drastic physical changes, the subconscious mind may not be able to deal with it. So despite the fact that you may love the person, when you look at the physical attributes, it is not the attributes that you fell in love with.
Exactly.
And what happens? The feelings that you have for the person starts to diminish. And this is where the problem comes in. Lots of time, we as a person change physically without taking note of the physical changes. Sometimes our behavior changes. And it may change for a number of reasons. It's not that you set out to change it, It's just because you have become so complacent in your life, so comfortable in the things that you're doing, that even the bad things become part of your life and part of your comfort zone. And when that becomes part of your comfort zone, you spend more and more time doing that. For example, drinking alcohol, lying too much, studying your friends more than your family, your wife and your family. And lots of times we are guilty of that. People do these things. And when you do these things, what it does to your relationship, it diminishes the feelings that your partner may have for you. Even being wrapped up in your work. A lot of time you might make the excuse, well, here, what I doing this for the family. But yes, you're doing it for the family, but what about the quality family time? Do you make time for the quality family time that you're supposed to have? Going out with your partner, taking the children out, spending time, establishing family time, creating a bond, a stronger bond. What are you doing about those things? And if you don't do those things, what happens is that the relationship starts to go apart, or the feelings for one another diminishes. And this is where the problem comes in lots of time. Many times, couples would come to me, or one partner would come to me and explain certain things about their relationship. And when you ask them the relevant questions, you come to the realization of what exactly is happening. You realize how the two parties have drifted apart and that they are not doing enough to pull things together. And sometimes it's simple little things that they need to do. Again, it comes back to that whole thing of appreciation, praise for the person, making the person feel comfortable. Sometimes you don't do enough of that. And when those things happen and the relationship drifts apart, it's difficult to pull it back. Because you yourself don't want to take blame for anything. Or you don't want to say, well, you know, I am at fault here. And believe me, if you have a relationship that is going apart, usually it's both parties responsible for that. It's not just one. I know many times when couples facing that realization, one person will say, well, it's her fault or it's his fault. Okay, it is his fault. Explain his fault. And when they start explaining, well, what did you do to counteract it? What are the strategies you use to stop that? And they will stop and look at you and they're like, what strategies are there? Or what should I be doing? Well, if you are married to the person and you don't know the strategies to pull that person back, or to get that person thinking differently, or to get that person to love you the way you need to be loved, well then, something is wrong. Obviously, you don't understand your partner. Obviously, there's a breakdown in communication. Obviously, there's a breakdown in commitment to one another. And then, of course, there's the number one thing. How have you compromised to make things better? With commitment comes compromising. And many times you have to give up things that you don't want to give up. You really don't want to give up, but you have to give it up. And that's part of compromise. You give it up for the bigger picture, for the long term, not the short term. The short term, you end up losing something, yes. But in the long term, you end up gaining more. Because most of the time in the short term, whatever you give up will hurt you, will cause you some sort of discomfort. But that discomfort is nothing compared to what will happen if you don't do it. And that's what you have to think of. If I don't sacrifice certain things about my relationship, or the way I behave that is causing negativity in my relationship, what's going to happen to me down the line? Where I'm going to end up? What's going to happen here? Do we pay attention to these things? And pay attention to the details of these things? And if we are honest enough, most of the times, we'll say, I didn't think about that. I really didn't know I had to compromise in this way. The commitment to the relationship wasn't the 100%.
But there's some people who tend to believe that that's how I am, take it or leave it.
Well, if you have that attitude with anything, you're not going to succeed. In anything that you do, there's compromising. For example, coming into this building, okay, there are certain ways that we have to pass. It is not the easiest way to get in the building. You and I both know that there's an easier way, but there is something that you must do to come into the building.
Exactly.
Come here. And you have to follow that protocol. So what you're going to say? Take me over, why am I going to do the other way? Somebody's going to pull up your socks. Somebody who has the authority to do it will go and say, that's not accepted. You can't be doing that. Isn't that what it is? Yes. Anything you do in life, you can't say, well, you see me, I like to drink and drive. So if a police stop me, I go tell, well, take it as it is. That's who I am. You can't take that attitude with everything. And it's the same thing with a relationship. Many a times, you might be a disciplinarian, you might be a strict person, you may grow up your children in a particular way, and one day your son or your daughter stand up for you. And when they stand up for you, they talk back at you. And you're telling them, well, that's disrespect. But if you listen to what they're saying, you say, well, wait a minute. You know she's right. Is it disrespect or if she's right? Are you going to usurp her answering you back, or her trying at authority to get her point across simply because you're the boss, or you're the father, or you're the mother? And this is where a lot of family problem comes in. We think that, oh, I am the big brother. If I say this is how it has to be. No, you could be wrong. You could be dead wrong. Oh, I am the father. So what I say goes. And the day somebody stand up for you in the house and they tell you something, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't see that way, you know, boy. I'm gonna be damn wrong, boy. And I pull myself aside and check out myself. But of course, the person who have the attitude that this is who I am and this is how I am, take me for who I am, what happens? They continue with their bad habits and there's a breakdown in all the things that they're supposed to be cherishing. And you know it, there are many families out there where the father or somebody in the family end up lonely, cold, unhappy, simply because of their attitude. They don't forgive, they don't forget, they don't want to move forward, they don't want to compromise. Isn't that so?
Exactly.
And what happened to these people? They live a miserable life. A totally miserable life where they cannot be happy. So, it comes back to that point I was making. You need to compromise. You need to have that commitment to yourself and your relationship to be able to compromise. You need to find the comfort zone, the comfort level of your partner, your spouse. Remember when two persons come together? This is unit 1 and this is unit 2. But you create a unit 3, you know.
Exactly.
The relationship is also a unit, you know.
Yeah.
And that unit grows. But what does it take to grow? It takes unit 1 and 2 to grow. It can't be taking half of 1 and a quarter of 2 to try to grow. It will not grow. It will diminish. So many a times we have to take stock. Sometimes we have to just think, well, okay, where are we now? 5 years ago, what I was thinking about, where I wanted to go with this thing? Okay, am I still heading in that direction? Do I have the support of my spouse the way I want the support to be? Should I speak to him or her about it and see if they're going to give me a little more support or do a little more? These are the things we have to examine. If we don't examine it and if we don't pay attention to it and if we don't do all the right things, we're going to end up with problems. And that's why we have so much breakdown in family life throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Because lots of time we are pig-headed and we are bull-headed and we say, our way or the highway. My way or the highway. So when you tell your spouse that, what do you expect him or her to do? They may not physically leave your presence for one reason or the other. And that's what brings about a lot of violence in relationship, you know. Violence in relationship is when you cannot have a conversation and get your point across by influencing the person to think along certain lines and get them to change their ways. And you think by beating the person or by committing some violent act, they're going to follow what you say.
Well, it's commanding way of talking.
Well, right. But you think that when you do these things, I am going to get respect. That don't bring you respect, that brings fear. That is not respect. So the fear makes the person do certain things, and the minute they mess up, they get licks again. And there's some person who are violent by nature, and that's all they know. They just know to be violent. They cannot carry on a conversation. You ever see two men arguing, and before they could get their point across, they come to blows? That's because they cannot communicate. There's a lack of communication there.
What about provocation?
Provocation could bring about some of that. Because if the person know that they provoke you to a point and you're going to behave in a particular way, they may push you. That's another human trait. We push things as much as we could. We like doing that. So they provoke you, yes, but are you going to be the lesser person or the bigger person?
What you do when you're being provoked like that?
Well, there are a number of things you can do.
Walk away.
Walk away. Find yourself doing something else. Cause. Well, that could also lead to more violence. It could lead to more, but you could walk away and cuss yourself. You could do that. Take a couple of deep breaths and say, oh, here, what? I don't need to be in this. One of the things I've found is, and even even in doing business and friendship and anything, that when negative people come around me, I get rid of them. I don't like negativity.
It's difficult to deal with that.
I do not like negativity around me. So for any time I realize that something is impacting upon me in a negative way, someone is impacting on me in a negative way, I try to get rid of it as quickly as possible and move on to the next thing that I need to do. Because I should not have to put up with this level of negativity that is going to bring me down. I should not have to put up with that. And if for any reason I am confronted by that negativity, I want to push it away.
Will you put negativity in objection or opinions?
Well, no, not really, Somebody could object to what you say. Somebody could have a different opinion about things. I think negativity is more like when somebody is trying to pull you down, or somebody is not, they're not trying to assist you in any way. So, for example, if I come here and you see I'm doing something wrong, and you pull me aside and you say, Dr. Raj, so, I wouldn't see that as you pulling me down. I'll see that as upliftment, or you want to see I do better. Now, some person may misinterpret that. I've had instances with others who do program and whatnot, and simple little things. I wouldn't say exactly what it is, but I have had to do that and pull them aside and say, this is so and so on. This was done wrong. And they thank you for it. Because the same way when I started off on radio, I never did a radio broadcasting course. I never did anything with the media. All I did, I had a gym and I was training people, and Lucy Arthur wanted me to be there, and I did a program with her. When I came here and I started my program, it was just that. I never did any kind of broadcasting course or anything. And I remember once asking Marcel Mahabir about it, and he said, all you have to do is tape yourself and listen to it, and you will find your faults. And others, if they hear or see something, they will tell you about it. But you must be open for criticism. In everything that you do, you have to be open for criticism. Now, there's constructive criticism, and there are those who criticize you simply because they want to criticize you, and they want to belittle you. So you have to realize that, hey, this person just wants to belittle me. I don't want to have anything to do with him or her. Like same thing with gossip. If you come in to gossip about somebody with me, I don't want to hear you,
I tell you.
I don't want to hear you.
I don't like that.
Nah, because the same way you could gossip with me about somebody else, you will go to somebody else and gossip about me.
Exactly.
And that's my philosophy. When persons start with this gossip thing, I just switch off or move away, because it is not a healthy way of conversing. Because what somebody does and their version of what the person does is their version, It is their version. It may not be the correct version of how things happen. And I've seen it happen many times. I know persons who, you believe what they say, but boy, they just exaggerate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of people like that.
You get a little cut, so, oh God, my whole finger cut out. They see a little accident on the road, they call you up. Oh God, but if you see the accident, boy, way about 10 people may be dead in that car. Exaggeration. So you have to know, you have to decipher the BS from the facts. I don't want to hear about that. I really don't want to hear about that. You see alarmists and drama queen and them kind of thing. I don't want to hear people like that. Somebody sending you a message and saying, boy, earthquake, place go break down. What are you telling me that for? Hurricane headed for Trinidad? Where? The hurricane up north, what they tell you headed for Trinidad.
Yeah, they like to drama.
But, well, they're drama queens. But the point is that they don't understand geography. Or they don't understand weather patterns. So you simply tell them, please get an education and then talk. And a lot of times, I had, today it was brought to my attention by someone. Many years ago, I was on the air, and there was a minister who had done a program here, and he was walking out of here. And he told me, I think your program does encourage slackness. I think it does encourage people to rape. And my answer was, you sure you have an education? Because if that's your interpretation of what the program is about, you're not educated. You are not educated. Because then it goes back to the age-old saying that when you hear the word sex, negativity comes associated with that. And when there is only positivity that is associated with sex, because sex is a very positive thing, it's we as individuals and we as human beings that put all this negativity to sex. We think it's dirty. We think that once it's below the waist, it's nasty. It's like anything that is bad, it's black. Come on. Anything that is bad, you describe it as black, a black sheep, a black this, a black that. Right? The characteristic of characters in movies and whatnot, they're all in black. Always black. It's the same thing, It's the very same thing I'm talking about. Because you hear the word sex and things that are associated with sex, you think it's nasty, you think it's negative, you think it's not something to be discussed. We take a break.
When we come back right away, we want to shed some light on control and obsession. Hey, it's located at the White Tent behind KFC and Pizza Hut La Romaine from the 7th of September to the 24th from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. once a year only. Come shop in AC Comfort, full Indian food court, great quality products available, home decor, teak furniture, curtains and shades, garments and footwear, jewelry and much more. And they accept links and credit card. We're talking incredible India. And trust me, I'm bursting at the seams. Just awaiting Calypso History Month, October 2018.
Calypso.
Oh Lord, it's Matilda, Princess Matilda.
Born out of the womb of struggle and rebellion, Calypso, the language of uprising and emancipation from the African slaves on the plantations. Calypso, songs of freedom and revolt. Calypso, from satirical and biting lyrics to the sometimes subtle double entendre, political and social commentary. The story of Calypso. The story of Calypso, all through the month of October, with features, discussions, analysis, and of course, the music. The story of Calypso, all through October on Power 102, celebrating Calypso History Month. Our history. You're listening to Power 102. The Weekend Pass returns to Power 102. Yes, your end-of-week access to fun, dancing, and a great line is coming to you. Every Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. at the most popular sports bars and afterward lining spots across TNT. Gayland and the Ultimate DJ Shane are working with giveaways, competitions, and great music.
The awesome DJ Shane.
This Friday, Weekend Pass goes to Kaiso Blues SWWTU Hall, Brighton Row. So get ready. The Weekend Pass. The Weekend Pass. Every Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. We're in your area and on Power 102. The Weekend Pass is sponsored by Karen Radler.
Kaiso Blues move. We know what 1D Rising Road, just down the street from Hyatt and the fire station. It's more space, more entertainment, more food, more drinks, with more free and more secure parking. The new Kaiso Blues Cafe, now at 1D Rising Road.
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy.
Power 102 presents We the Republic.
We, the Republic.
A retrospective on the people and places that have been pivotal in our ongoing journey to nationhood.
We, the Republic.
4 times daily on Power 102, being brought to you with the compliments of the Unit Trust Corporation on Power 102. empowering you.
Incredible India, located at the White Tent behind KFC and Pizza Hut Laramie from September 7th to 24th. Once a year,
How many more?
come and shop in easy comfort, home Indian food
Wait,
court, home
take an hour.
decor, teak furniture,
I shall return.
sheets, garments, footwear, jewelry and much more. We accept weights and credit card, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Incredible India, located at the White Tent behind KFC and Pizza Hut Laramie from September 7th to 24th. Admission is absolutely free. Check us out today.
Are the problems and destructive anxieties of today tearing you apart? If there was ever a time to readjust your priorities and refocus your vision, it's now. Join Pastor Wayne Sampson on the Vision of Hope devotional program every Monday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. right here on Power 102 FM. Jesus is the only one who can give you peace in the midst of today's storm.
What does an MBA mean to you? More boardroom access? Mind-blowing achievement? Move beyond action. At SAM, we believe that an MBA shapes you to become meticulous, balanced, agile. The Anglia-Ruskin MBA offered exclusively in Trinidad through the School of Accounting and Management has many unique features, including the option to specialize in project management, finance, marketing, human resource management, leadership, entrepreneurship, and innovation. The range of modules encourage a broad, analytical, and integrated study of business and management. The MBA can be completed in 1 year. Call SAM for more information on 663-6681 or visit www.samtt.com and see SAM always on the front inside cover of the TSC directory.
Hey, South Trinidad, come out for the Incredible India located at the White Tent behind the KFC and Pizza Hut in Laramie from the 7th to the 24th of September from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. daily. Once a year only, come shop in AC Comfort, full Indian food court. Great quality products are available. Home decor, teak furniture, curtains, shades, garments, footwear, jewelry, and much, much more. And they accept links and credit card. You go check them out. Incredible India.
Want to get your products and services out to more customers? How about getting more people into your store? Does your brand need a boost in exposure? Then radio advertising on Power 102 is the solution you've been looking for. With packages tailored to your needs and a team to create the ideal radio ad, the choice is clear. Power 102, empowering you. So call us today at 62-POWER, that's 627-6937, and ask to speak to a client advisor about your ideas and brand. We are Power 102, empowering you and your business today.
Lester Sudlal inviting you to join me every Tuesday and Thursday 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. for the program Slow Gospel Music, a program designed to soothe your mind and uplift your spirit here on Power 102.1 FM, Power 102.1 FM.
This is Power 102. Empowering you.
Sexplosion continues with Dr. Raj right here at Power 102.1 FM and asking the question in comparison to commitment and of course that are kind of connecting with each other.
But before we go there, I'm disappointed in you.
How?
You didn't say, Raj, how you like the cricket, boy?
I forgot we are champions of.
How you could forget that?
And the TKR just.
Something you could forget that, boy?
I don't know.
You forget your birthday, not that?
I agree.
Licks like that.
My apologies, man.
Yes, man. Class is class. But what get me? I didn't make any comment about it. But you see, when that woman stepped on our flag.
Yes.
That was the nastiest thing, eh? And if you do the very same thing to her, she wouldn't understand that hurt you.
I know.
She would never understand that. And I hope no Trinidadian ever do that.
We won't.
I hope they don't ever take God out of your thought and do anything like that.
We are accustomed to the cliche, get something and wave.
Get something and wave. Not get something and mash it.
No. That was total disrespect. Man.
That is total disrespect. And the way she did it.
Yeah.
The way it was done. Yeah. And any Trinidadian who reposts that, you're not patriotic.
I tell you.
Don't repost that because it come like you encouraging someone to mash your flag. Delete it.
Yeah.
Do not repost that. I saw somebody repost that last night. I was like, come on, the hurt is already there. This is my flag.
That's right. That's right.
I don't consider that our flag, you know, that is my flag, you know.
Yeah, we won't ever do that to it.
And I tell people, and anybody who knows me, whenever I go to any function anywhere in the world, I have a Trinidad and Tobago flag on my lapel.
Yes.
I have that there, you know, all the time,
Yeah.
because I revered that.
Chili to the marrow.
Yeah, to the marrow, they're damn right. So,
Yeah, but
I am happy. I am
was class. Like I said, class is permanent and form
yeah,
is
temporary.
man.
Temporary.
Yeah.
All they jump for joy for those 2 matches that they won.
But you know, Raj, when you look at it, a good friend of mine who followed the cricket very well too, he's David, have you realized that we supplied these other teams with top-notch players? We didn't just give them
We are suppliers of the best.
Yes.
And I don't like what they're doing to Riyad Emirates. Riyad Emirates is a personal friend of mine.
Of
and he's a great human being.
And he's a good player also. He's a
He's
class
a
player.
fantastic player.
Yeah, class player.
And he's not... Today I was talking to Lendell. Lendell came by me. Simmons.
Yeah.
And he said, Raj, when we playing one another, we want to better each other. You know?
Yes, that would make
we don't give up, you know.
Top of the line. Yeah.
We don't give up, you know.
No.
We want to mash up one another on that field, although we're best of friends after.
Yeah,
but and I know that for a fact.
Of course.
I know that for a fact because I see the passion when they're playing against one another, that they want to better one another.
Yeah. It augurs well for all.
Yeah, all.
Yeah.
So when I see the way that they treat him, I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Because
I don't like it at all.
We supply these
all
other
of them,
teams
every
with
single team.
top of the line players. We don't give them no B-type,
No.
B-side players. We give them
men who are in line to play for Trinidad and Tobago or plays for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. Guys who can even go out and represent the IPL.
Yeah.
You know, and we just power pack with a whole heap of players that can even take on that.
Yeah.
You know, where shouldn't that we manufacture this thing? You know what I mean?
So
but I enjoyed it from that standpoint to see that we had a power pack team.
And we supplied power pack men outside.
Yes, top of the line players that we showed them who's boss.
Yeah.
But TKR the whole has the most balanced team in the CPL.
I think so.
Yeah, I think we.
I think so. And we said that from day one.
Yes, it's a very balanced team.
Very balanced team.
Very
And
independent,
congratulations to
every
all the
player.
guys out there. And you know, I spoke to some of them recently, and I still will want to wish them all the best.
Yes,
and I hope we go for a three-peat now.
Oh, you mean, yeah? Raj, can you imagine the first top 5 batsmen getting past 50? That will be a T20 with 400 runs on the board.
You know what you're talking about there?
I tell you. So hats off to the guys and
hats off to them.
Yes.
Also a special good night to Donna, Sadar, how are you? Lisa, Richard, Nirmala, Sam. Well, Sam Gerard is my good friend Checky. He's over in New York, not New York, Florida. I know he eventually. At first he was in New York. Sunita, Cindy, Pinky, and who did I miss out there? Abdullah and Rosanna Rodriguez. I know she was supporting Guyana, so sorry for the licks.
No, I'm happy that I am seeing that we supply all these teams. I know they cannot be the TKR. So when they come up against us, even though when they win and thing, no problem. We'll fix
Take
that.
a bow and bow out.
Yeah, we just come back and fix that.
Take a bow and bow out.
You know what I mean? And I know there are people, shouldn't be good. The TKR team itself are a bunch of players who can handle pressure and finals.
Yeah.
There are some guys who are very good at practice matches.
We know Guyana can handle finals at all.
No, that pressure.
We know they can handle that at all.
That pressure.
So anyway, let's get back to what was the question he was asking?
Yes, well, you went in depth about being compatible and cooperation. You know, that's
commitment and all that.
And all that. How you put that in comparison to like taking control? There are some people who like to be in control, and there's some who are just full 100 obsessed.
Well, obsession is a hell of a thing, you know. When you're obsessed with someone, it's not love, you know. Obsession, if a person equates obsession with love, they're doing the wrong thing. Obsession is more possession as opposed to love. Love comes with a certain level of freedom to express yourself, a certain amount of freedom to be who you are. Obsession doesn't allow you to be who you are. If I'm obsessed with you, I'm obsessed with you, and you cannot have that freedom to do the things you want to do. So this is where the same thing, the criminal act will come into that, because you want to control, and you want to control in the worst possible way. You don't want the person talking to another person. You don't want them interacting. If they interact in any small way, that is a problem for you, because jealousy sets in there, because you think that all the attention should be surrounding you. You are the universe of that person.
I didn't want jealousy. I didn't want to use the word jealousy, so I used that obsession. But I'm glad you're bringing it.
Yeah, no, but that is what obsession leads to jealousy.
Yeah.
It leads to you jealousing the things that the person will want to do, the interaction the person may have with others. You cannot cope with the fact that this is a human being that has feelings and may have a life of their own. Their life doesn't revolve around your life, you know.
Exactly.
And many a times persons want to think that oh, I am with this person, my spouse, and their life revolves around my life. Think again. Think again. A free-thinking individual, which we all born as individuals, you know, we didn't come here with anybody, you know. We did not come on this planet Earth with anyone. Even a twin don't come with the other one.
Exactly.
They don't come at the same time. There's a time lapse between each one. Having said that, if you think that as you get, and you know, one of the things that I always like to talk about is, as a parent, we do things for the protection and the betterment of our child or children. We sacrifice many things for our child and children. And I dare any child to question that. Any child out there, myself included, because I'm a child of my parents, to question the sacrifice that your parents made for you. You don't know half the things that your parents has done for you to be the healthy young man that you are, the healthy young woman that you are. I know the funny thing about it. A man will come into a woman's life or a young girl life for a few days and the parents bad. They would leave their parents' home, the protection of that mother and father. They will forsake that mother and father for that man who just come in there out of the blues simply because of the word love or infatuation. And they don't think that, wait a minute, my parents sacrificed all this to bring me up as a young woman, and now I'm in my 20s, late teens or early 20s, and I want to push them aside for a man who chain up my head. And vice versa, a man will do the very same thing, forsake his parents for a woman who chain up his head. What do you think about individuals like that? Sometimes a person wants to control you so much that they tell you to forsake your parents, forsake your religion, forsake your belief, your career. Throw all those things aside for me. You are not the world. And this is where incompatibility comes in a lot of time. You know. Incompatibility with race, religion, country. Sometimes I talk about it and people will say, well, why are you going down that road? But you have to understand that we need to address everything when you're addressing these things. You have a person who comes from a first world country, see you as a third world country. You think that's not going to pop up one day in our argument or our talk? You think that's not how the person going to look at you?
What happens to the emotional connect or response? Along the line, that what kind of impact it will have when we have that obsessive, kind of controlling attitude towards a relationship?
Well, you're going to get the person to be with you out of fear again. They're going to be with you out of a sense of commitment, but it's not full commitment. And eventually they will see the truth. They will see you for who you really are. Because when you're in the relationship, when you're in that boyfriend-girlfriend phase, you don't see anything wrong with the person, you know. You don't see anything wrong with the person. All the bad characteristics and whatnot, you have blinders, you are myopic. You only see straight ahead. You only see what you want to see, or your interpretation of things. And others may be seeing all the bad things. And many times I could relate many stories of finding myself in situations where I see people in certain situations, but you can't say anything because it's not your concern. They don't have any ties with you, but you see how wrong they are in their relationship. Now, if they come to you as a client, that's a different thing. If they come to you as someone for advice, to advise them on what they should be doing or how they should be dealing with the situation, then that's a different thing. But if they don't come to you that way, and they just presented, and you're seeing what's happening, you can't go and put your mouth in it. You might get cussed out.
It has a kind of personal effect to that kind of have effects like even where sex is concerned.
Yeah.
That could have a mental impact, because you said sex started in the head.
Sex starts in the brain because that's where we conjure up, and that takes me to my next topic that I want to talk about, fantasies. But we'll deal with that in a while. But sex starts in the brain, and it also comes about based on the relationship you have with the person. And let me put it bluntly. If you're really into someone, you just have to hear that person's voice, be near that person, smell that person, and you have an erection or you're wet. Because you're into the person. So that's where it starts, the brain. When you smell something, it don't go to your big toe, you know. It goes to your brain. When you see something, it goes to your brain to decipher. When you hear something, it goes to your brain. When you taste something, it goes to your brain. And when you touch something, it goes to your brain. It don't go to your heart, as some people say. That went to my heart. Yeah. It don't go to your liver. It don't go to your kidney. It don't go to your groin. It don't go to your vagina. It don't go to your penis. It goes to your brain. And then the brain starts to send it all over. So yes, the brain is the important factor here. So if that person is obsessive towards you, you may, or your subconscious mind may identify the fact that this person is obsessive, and you may play along because of your safety, but it doesn't mean to say you love the person.
Safety and security falls in the same bracket.
Beg your pardon?
Safety and security. You know, you're feeling secure.
Mm-hmm.
Safety and security falls into the same bracket here.
Well, you will want to secure yourself in a relationship. You want to feel safe in the relationship, despite the fact that there's a lot of negativity, meaning that the person is obsessive and possessive. You will want to get that sense of security. Yes. So it falls in the same bracket. But it does not mean to say you are in love with the person. If you find the true characteristics of an individual, their true behavior or their true nature, and you are able to pinpoint that and bring that out in the person, there's a love that's going to develop with you and that person. And that love, again, which starts in the brain and not in the heart, will transform itself into something that could be highly sexual and sensual, you know.
What if the person is sort of being how should I put it? Dictatorship, like kind of dictatorship with a relationship.
Well, that's the same thing with possessiveness.
Nice.
It's the same thing. They're a dictator. A dictator possesses everything, you know. When a dictator talks about something,
that creates a discomfort.
They dictate everything that it will. Because despite the fact that the person may The person on the receiving end may know all the negative traits and realize that the person is a dictator, or the person wants to control everything. They'll play along, you know. Again, for safety and security. And you know, one person, the dictator will say, ah boy, he or she really love me, boy.
So what if you come to a confrontational sort of conversation? When I say confrontation, I'm not saying it in a negative sense, where they have a difference of opinion, and the person says, listen, this is how I am, take it or leave it.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. Anytime a person who tells you that, expect you to take it or leave it, you're not going to live a happy life.
What did they say? You're supposed to get accustomed to that, man.
Well, yeah, I'm accustomed to it. It doesn't mean to say I accept it. It doesn't mean to say I'm going to put up with it. It doesn't mean to say I'm going to reciprocate and make you happy.
What happens to
The thing is to be lying with somebody and they're thinking about you, you know. Then you know something. No, I'm not talking about fantasy and sex and whatnot. I'm talking about physically being there in the presence of your spouse or your loved one and whatnot. And they have written you off and thinking about somebody else or something else. There's no connection with you. Now, if you're talking about a sexual situation and a love-making situation or whatnot, those are the things that happens. You may be with your spouse, but you enjoy sex with somebody else. Or there's a fantasy that you enjoy with your partner, and you like that fantasy because it brings a different spin to the bedroom. Fine. And somebody asked me the question today, is it wrong to have fantasies? It can be wrong. If it wasn't for fantasies, they will never be invented. Out of the pumps, like we have in South.
Yeah, the pony pumps.
Yeah. And that's how we got the idea to make one of those. Fantasy. He fantasized about that as being one of the characters in Star Wars. So fantasy fuels invention. Imagination fuels that. Imagination, fantasy is part of imagination. You with your partner in bed, making love, kissing, whatever, caressing, giving each other a massage, and you suddenly start to fantasize about J-Lo. Right? And your partner is into it. You're going to have a very good session, you know? Because you could discuss it with her, and you could, or she could discuss something with you and bring up somebody else's name, and that's part of your fantasy. So how could fantasy be wrong? We all fantasize about things. We might be driving down the road and you see somebody pull aside with a nice car and say, boy, I wish I could be driving one of that. Boy. That's a fantasy.
Yeah, Audi is my fantasy, bro.
Well, right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. So you have to make your fantasy into a reality.
Of course, yeah.
You have to make your fantasy into a reality.
You know the 6 numbers that will be coming on Saturday?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I can't give it to you on the air, then everybody will have it. And if everyone has it, you're going to share a little piece of the pie, not the whole pie. Yeah. So I can't give that. I could tell you, every one of the 6 numbers have between 1 and 0. 10. Or combination thereof.
Yes.
But there's nothing wrong with fantasy. I remember when I was a student, the top sports car there was a Porsche. I had a friend who had a Porsche 911. everybody who had a car in school used to give me to drive it for some reason. Because I was the bravest when it comes to driving. I will take the cars and carry down what's called the boondocks and let them go and show them what is the top speed of this vehicle. And that was my fantasy vehicle. But I knew coming back to Trinidad in 1984 that that couldn't be a reality because there was no Porsche dealership in Trinidad. That couldn't happen, but it was the fantasy in my brain. Until, 30 years after, there was a Porsche dealership.
Yes.
You understand what you could take your fantasy and make it into reality, whatever it is.
A lot of men fantasizes about twosomes.
Threesomes.
Well, including them, it will be a threesome.
Threesome.
Yeah, threesome.
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 That is the number one fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
The number one fantasy among men is threesomes.
Is it the other way around?
With women? To a point, but I don't think it's the number one fantasy. I really don't think it's the number one fantasy. I can't, based on what I've seen with women and what I've heard from women, I will tell you it's not. There are too many different things that they fantasize about. Women will fantasize about the things that are part of their kink. And because women have so many different, diverse feelings and wants when it comes to sex, there's no one thing that they pinpoint. But with men, that threesome, oh my God, it's at the top.
Yeah. And that drives women to have sex toys?
Yeah, it could drive them to have sex toys. It could drive them to experiment.
Yeah.
It could drive them to do some things that we consider to be wrong. But it is the fantasies that we have in our head, and it is the things that we want to achieve or accomplish sexually that will drive us to those things. And what's wrong with that? It's because of fantasies and imagination we have all these inventions taking place. You have the world blossoming from the Stone Age to what it is today. And the greatest amount of invention took place over the last 50 years. And we are fortunate to be living in this time, to see the transition from nothing to everything.
Yeah. How does this new trend, I call it the alphabet family, LGBTQI, how does that fit into this?
It's all part.
Kind of way of
It's all part of human relationship, and it's nothing new, you know.
I know.
It's just the expression of it is what is new. Like there's nothing new in sex. It's the dissemination of the information today that is new. You have it in smartphones and smart devices and all these different things. It's the same thing with persons who have a sexual orientation that you may not have heard about before or may not be aware of before. Now they have an avenue by which to express themselves. And when I say they, persons who are so inclined, not they in a disparaging way, persons who are so inclined have an avenue to experiment or to be part of that lifestyle and be happier in that lifestyle. And that is what brings them their happiness.
Fantasy falls in this group?
No, that's not a fantasy. That's reality. That's reality. The fantasy is the bisexual individual who fantasizes about something like that and may take it to the level of actually participating but not wanting to continue with it. That is where fantasy falls in. But the persons who have a certain lifestyle, and it's not just a lifestyle, who have a sexual preference, that's not a fantasy, that's reality for them.
You think it's something trending that you have this
to a certain extent it is. We are mimic men. We are mimic men. If you have a and you see it in movies and whatnot. If you have a serial killer doing something in a particular way, you have people mimic that, you know. Because they want to be in the know and they want to be famous and whatnot. So you will have a certain segment of society, a small portion, who will want to do it because it's the thing to do. Because we are mimic men. We mimic things all the time.
Fantasy and urges, same thing?
Well, urges bring about fantasy. It's not the same thing. You will have an urge for something, You will have a want or a need for something, and it brings about a fantasy if you cannot get it in reality. And then the fantasy could become reality depending on your partner, or depending on how far you want to take it. I have to say a special good evening to Talia and Ria. So, you have an urge for something, and you act upon it. Or you have an urge for something, and you say, well, you see what? I can't act upon that. If I act upon that, I'm in trouble. So you fantasize about it, you masturbate, you enjoy self-indulgence, and you let it rest until you get the urge again. And sometimes the urge expands, and the urge becomes very strong, and you have to act on it. Depending on, that's what makes people murder and rape and do all these things. The urge. What are the controls you put in over the urge? Stealing is an urge. Kleptomaniac, you have people who are kleptomaniac. You could do what you want. They have to put it in their pocket. You could be labeling them whatever name. They'll still pick up things, and their hands sticky, as the old people will say.
So true.
Their hands sticky. They're kleptomaniac. But the urge, they cannot control the urge. Not all urges should be acted upon, because there are urges that you may have that could lead to the detriment of others or yourself. But for example, stand up on the sidewalk and you're watching a bus coming and you had the urge to run across the road. What, you could get knocked down?
Yeah. But isn't all that a safer way to go with multiple partners based on fantasies, right?
Well, again, when a person has a strong desire to do something, the questions that you bring up does not apply.
It's true.
It applies after the fact. And despite the fact of how much education you may have, how much information you may have, there are persons who will act upon their urge and worry about it afterwards, for the satisfaction of the urge, the satisfaction of the want or the need, and only worry about it after the fact. And again, it's because of how we behave as human beings. We see the danger. You think a man jump in a plane, fly up in the air with an open door, and jump out of that plane with something strapped to his back. You think that is a urge, a want, a need? What? What is it? And there's danger.
Of course, yeah.
Now if somebody comes to you and say, here, what, I'll put in on a parachute for you, go and jump out of a plane. What you tell him? You're a madman, or?
Of course. I'm not doing that.
Are you doing that? You're mad?
I'm not trained to do that in the first place.
Don't forget the training.
Yeah.
They tell you everything's safe.
Yeah. No.
Everything's safe. No, you're not going to do it.
At all.
You're not going to do it. Because it's not your thing. But there are others who, that's their thing. That's their thing. They could do that. That is easy to do. So every individual different. And all you have to do is transform that or transfer that into the sexual needs and wants of a person. There are those who will act upon it. There are those who will use an instrument to get satisfaction for that feeling. There are those who will bury it. There are many persons out there who are sexually dissatisfied, who have a terrible relationship, who cannot get sexual satisfaction from their partner. But does that mean to say they step out of their relationship? No. They bury it inside, or bury it deep down inside, and they just leave it there. So we have to take into consideration those things. Usha from Rio Claro is locked on.
So too is Mr. Edinburgh.
Mr. Edinburgh.
Yeah.
That's good. Pleasant good evening to everyone.
Raj, seeing that we have the liberation of certain legislation where the LGBT and what we call the street people are concerned. Do you see in the future where it will be, because how you see the ratio, first part of the question, what kind of ratio you see in the future, next 10 years, as compared to people who will gravitate to LGBTQI?
There's not a gravitation to that. There has always been a percentage of society who has been like that.
Would you see an increase in the people who are coming out of the closet?
Wait, there's two different questions. An increase in percentage or increase in people?
Let's put it that way. I like how you put it that way.
If you say an increase in people, the answer is yes. Increase of percentage, no.
Okay.
Why? 20 years ago, what was the population of planet Earth? And what is the population of planet Earth today? So you want to tell me when we had 4 billion people, I'm just using a figure, there were 200 million people that way. Now we have 7 billion. You think there's not going to be 700 million people that way? Proportionately. The percentage has not increased.
Where the legislative agenda is concerned, do you see?
Let me just give you an example, and I want this to sink into people's head. Since the dawn of time, 25% of planet Earth has always been Hindus and always will be. Since the dawn of time. 25% of this planet has been Hindus, and it will always be. A lot of people don't like that fact, but that's a fact.
Well, the point I'm trying to get at and the answer I'm looking for is with the LGBT now having that, they're enjoying a new kind of, or an exposure that was hidden in the phone. So down the road now, straight people, right? Would there be some sort of request on the legislative arm to say, well, okay, there are too much women to men if there's a ratio of the women to men?
That's a fallacy,
Yeah, a fallacy.
That's a fallacy,
Would we see the legislative arm? The Muslims have a way of being able to get married to like 5 or 6 women or 2 or 3 women.
But that's a fallacy. Yeah. You know what's the population of men and women in Trinidad? The last time I checked, there were only 20,000 more women than men in Trinidad. All this thing that people be talking about is 5 to 1 and 3. That is not true. That's not true in anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
It's a fallacy we have. On planet Earth, if there's 7 billion people on planet Earth, 3.5 billion is men and 3.5 billion is women.
Okay.
There's no disparity, no large disparity. It might be off by 1 million or 100 million. But that 100 million transform itself into different society. Now if there's a war, okay, let's take for example when there was World War II. How many million men died on the battlefield?
A whole lot.
Millions.
Yeah, a whole lot.
Million of men died on the battle, not women, men. Right? There was a disparity then from the countries that had men going to war.
But if you look at it literally, there are a lot of guys who are killing one another, a lot of guys who are going to prison. You see that happening through that where it's a kind of 50-50 thing with men and women?
Yes. But the fact I just give you there is from the Central Statistical Office of Trinidad and Tobago. It's not something Raj Ramnanan make up.
Okay.
That is the facts that I got from CSO. It's not something I woke up in the morning and make up.
Okay.
That's the CSO number. I wish I had it here to call out the exact number. I asked them for the exact number and I got it.
But to the man on the ground, you think he's seen it?
No, they don't see it that way because they want to live in the fallacy that it in Trinidad is 5 to 1, so I must have 5 women. Because it's a man thing, it's a macho thing. It's better for me to propagate a lie, and we propagate many lies in society. There's a course that I did at university called statistics, and one of the books that we had to study was a book how to lie with statistics. You could take statistics and make it whatever you want.
Make it look real.
You could lie with statistics. Anybody who knows statistics can twist and turn and...
Well, there's just some people, I want to just clarify certain things for people. I mean, it hardly bothers me because I have a mantra that I live by. Every man to their own order. I live by that to the letter. So I'm looking at it now. So now we have a lot of, some people saying, wait, boy, they never knew so much people waited this and they're now jumping out of the closet because the legislative...
But that percentage of persons were always there on planet Earth. Don't get tied up with that. Don't think that there are more persons or a larger percentage of human beings that are that way. That the persons who preach what you just said are prophets of doom and gloom. They don't understand reality. And I hate to say it, even the religious heads don't understand that. There is a percentage, just as how I could have given you the percentage of Hindus on planet Earth, and it will always be so. It's the same thing with, and I made that point. I made that point to prove the point that the percentage of individuals who are so inclined sexually has always been like that. It's just that in the past, when planet Earth only had 1 billion people, you may have read about 10 of them. You have to take the world in context of the population of the world and the population of persons who are that way, but who are so inclined, I should say. But because of the decriminalization of the act, and that is important to note, there are more and more individuals who have lived that life, who are part of that lifestyle, who can come out now and say, yes, I am that way. There is no fear of being prosecuted or killed because of their preference. And it's as simple as that. I do not think there's a proliferation of individuals who are that way or so inclined. I don't think it's a proliferation. I think it's just the same amount of population that will incline to be that way are more open to come out. It's the same thing with sexual information and knowledge. Sex information and knowledge was always there. It's just that there are more devices now to show it in the public domain. There are more devices to do that. So, what do? Do you condemn? And this is the problem we have here. Many a times. And it comes back to another saying that I have. What is legal today will be illegal tomorrow, and what is illegal today will be made legal tomorrow.
Yeah, it's happening right now. What seems to be wrong.
I have been preaching that for years.
Right.
I have been preaching that for years.
Yeah.
The things that persons consider to be illegal today and frowned upon today and prosecuting people for today, 10 years down the line it will be nothing. To prosecute, hound down people, and waste energy and resources behind. And that's just the way the world is.
Yes, I agree.
It is the way the world is. Before there was biblical law, there were man-made laws. Before there were man-made laws, people lived by rules or heads will tell you differently. Do you think marriage is man-made or God-made?
That's a good one. I think it's more the spiritual side.
No. That's not what I asked you.
Man-made or God-made?
Yeah.
I can use the word ordained.
You could use the word ordained, but...
Well, it was ordained by God. So let me put it on the God side.
Okay, on God's side.
Yeah.
Do you believe there were cavemen?
Yeah.
Do you believe there was Neanderthal man?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe there was Banwari man?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You think them know anything about God and you think them know anything about marriage? No answer, man.
Not true. They knew nothing about that. They were like animals surviving.
So,
naturally.
Was it man-made or God-made? Answer me.
Well, it has to be man-made from that perspective.
But that is logical perspective.
Mm-hmm. So what inspired?
That is logic. That is simple logic. I mean, I believe in marriage and all that.
Yeah.
Right? I believe in the spirituality of it and whatnot. Yes. But in a logical sense, is which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
If you look at it that way, Jesus, Jesus, Raj. So who was inspired or motivated to bring about
somebody?
Jesus.
Maybe it was inspired by God. I don't know. I wasn't there for the first marriage. Some books have it as one thing, another book may have it as another thing.
It's true because even in the Bible you hear about this one and his wife, but you never heard about their marriage to be called his wife or husband.
I am going down that road because I don't want to make it into that. But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that as we evolve, things change.
Yeah, I agree to that also.
As human beings evolve, things change. There will come a time when marriage is not an important factor in people's life. And we are seeing it now. There are more people shacking up today. But there are more persons now who waiting for way down the line to marry or have a child. There are more women now who are willing to have a child out of wedlock and it's no big deal. Long ago that was frowned upon.
Yes. Yeah.
That was frowned upon. Veda, how are you? That was frowned upon. So what is legal today, a marriage is legal, may be illegal tomorrow. You don't know. We may not survive to know that.
It's true.
Somebody might come along and say, yeah, what? Dissolve all marriages, it's illegal. Now it might sound far-fetched, you know. But it's possible.
Star Wars was like a fantasy to its reality now.
Exactly. Star Trek.
Yeah, all the comic book things. I saw people with cell phones and they watch Dick Tracy, all this kind of thing comes to mind. You know, so it's evolving and it's changing all the time.
Right. So the things that we consider to be right now is right now, based on the time, place, and circumstance.
Yeah.
Whatever country you live in, based on the time, place, and circumstance, it is correct. It is accepted. It is accepted based on the time, place, and circumstance. There are some countries, what we do in Trinidad, as a free society, as a democratic society, you can't get away with that in another country. You know?
Yeah, so true.
We have a certain level of freedom in behavior, in thought, in action that you cannot get away with in another country.
I believe that.
But that's a fact. It's a fact. So, I could only, speaking for Trinidad and Tobago now, we live in this society and we have different religion, we live in harmony, you know. The only time we separate is for politics, you know. Watch a cricket match. Watch a simple cricket match that went on there Sunday night. Watch the crowd.
Yes.
Everybody was in the red.
Red, green, blue, black, everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
But everybody was together.
Yeah, exactly. I know about it.
And that's how we live. Whatever area you come from, you have an African living next to an East Indian living next to a half Chinese living next to a Douglas. They live as one. And that's how we grow. But I make no apologies for that. I grew up in Sangre Grande on Renwick Street that had every race and religion represented on that one street. Right? And that's a fact. So, when persons come from another country and they see that here, they either feel we are corrupt society or we are far advanced society. Because they can't understand it. When I have had persons come here, visit me and visit my home. and say, boy, if you were living in China, you get charged for wasted space. Your yard too big.
Yeah.
You see how much containers they could put here and how more people could live in that little yard? This is a person from China. Eh?
Yeah.
You see, if you were in China, they'd charge you for wasting space. But that's what we are accustomed to. That's how we live.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want a little yard. We want to plant a little cherry tree and a little this and a little that. We want that. We like little flowers in front of it. There are some places I visit, some countries in the world I visit, and I have not seen a flower planted. You know it is not to see a flower plant. That's a hell of a thing. So the things we take for granted as human beings in Trinidad and Tobago, and the freedom that we have to express ourselves, brings me back to your question when you ask about the LBGTQ or RSTWXYZ.
The alphabet family.
The alphabet family, as you say.
Yeah.
We have always been tolerant to a point of that, In other countries, they're persecuted. We have had 1 or 2 murders associated with that, but sometimes it is the people who are in that same lifestyle that committed.
Yeah.
Because nobody can jealous like them, Nobody is as possessive as them, I could tell you that one too. They're very possessive and jealous, and guarded. I deal with them all the time, so I could tell you that. But we didn't go out there and prosecute them and look to bash them. There are places in the United States, if you belong to that community, there were people waiting with baseball bat outside the place of gathering to bash them, It's called gay bashing, And literal bashing, not talk, Bashing you with a baseball bat, So we live in a tolerant society. And that tolerance has come about not because of our watchword, but because of the way we interact with one another. Every person can identify someone or some family member that was so inclined. Every person could do that.
It's true.
But sometimes we bury our head and say, nah, he really wasn't like that. She wasn't that. Although I know she was like, no, she was not. But we could identify somebody like that. But we didn't go around killing them or burning them or whatnot.
Exactly.
We didn't do that.
Yeah.
We didn't even sing fire go burn them. Right? But that is our society. Step outside of society and step into the Caribbean, where they don't have the mix that we have, where they don't have the unity that we have. Although they may belong to the same race, they don't have the unity that we have,
I know.
And that is what baffles them. That jealousy that they have is unbelievable, It's because of our composition and the way we could interact with one another, the unity that we have. And when that come out, like it came out in the cricket, it was like, that baffles them.
Yeah.
It baffles them because they live in a society with one race and they don't have that unity.
Yeah.
So yes, coming back to what we were talking about, the sacrifices you have to make your relationship work, to guide your family life. It's not a dictatorship. It should never be.
Have you ever been confronted with probably people who come to your clinic and stuff that this thing, the exposure this is having now, let's say in a male-female relationship, that it came to the understanding that this one was part of that all the time undercover. How does that impact on a relationship?
That has come about many times, not only now. Since I've begun my practice in Trinidad, many times that has come forth.
A woman come out and say, I didn't know my man was in this. A woman come out and say, I didn't know my woman was in this.
Yeah, many times.
Is it something repairable or something you can live with?
But what do you repair? How could you repair a person's sexuality?
But if you had gotten involved with them unknowing, and then it comes to...
You mean the partners repair their relationship?
Yeah.
They could learn to live with it. They could change things around to suit the lifestyle, or they could just part ways. Again, it depends on the level of feelings that they have for one another. The understanding they have, where they want to take the relationship. There are lots of things people sacrifice. That's where the sacrifice comes in and the compromise. It have men out there who are married but they're gay. It have women who are married but they're gay. And you think their partner don't know that? You think they never suspected that? But despite the suspicion or whatever feelings that they may have, they push it aside and say, I am going to make this work regardless.
What kind of shock that creates on the first time you find out?
A terrible shock.
People puking.
Well, no, it depends on the individual. There are some persons who will get into a fit of rage. There are some persons who will start to cuss, as you say. And there are some persons who will take it with ease and say, well, let me hear. Let me figure out what is really going on. Let me find out if she really so, he really so.
And if I can deal with it.
And deal with it in a more professional way, mentally. There are persons who step up to the plate, you know. Education level is one thing that will help you. Open-mindedness, looking at society in a way that, okay, these things do exist, and because it exists, I have to understand it, right? So, it's a number of factors that goes into a relationship. There are a number of factors that helps to guide you with what you're doing. Your religion, your moral suasion, the society in which you grew up, influenced by others. So many different factors.
But it have a very negative effect on, especially like women who find out when they're man with a man.
Yeah, well, same thing with men. You know of one famous person when he find out what it did to him mentally. And don't pretend you don't know.
But some men might be happier for that as compared to
How?
women.
How would that make you happier?
Like some men might say, well, bring your partner home. Men who fantasize like 2 summers, 3 summers.
It doesn't work that way, you know.
You think the impact on a man knowing that is it a 50-50 balance kind of ratio with women who find out that the men are men?
I think there are more women who are aware of their husband's preferences than men are aware of their wives' preferences. I honestly think so. But I don't have facts to prove.
I do enjoy your profession.
My profession is very complicated.
I know.
You deal with the psychology of society, you deal with sociology, you deal with religion. There's so many different factors you have to deal with. You have some ad story?
Yes, I will.
Go ahead. I see you pull it up.
Sexplosion will continue on the other side of these. And looking for quality items at the best prices, then check out Incredible India, located at the white tent behind KFC and Pizza Hut in La Romaine. September the 7th to the 24th, so you got until Monday, 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. once a year only. Shop in AC Comfort, full Indian food court, great quality products available. And I just can't wait for October.
Power 102 invites you to Divine Inspiration, your guide to the way, the truth, and the light. Be inspired by powerful music, inspirational preachers, and transformational testimonials. Divine Inspiration, Mondays to Thursdays, 9 p.m. to midnight on Power 102 FM and streaming live via the Power 102 app. Tune in to Divine Inspiration and be transformed. Calypso.
Oh Lord, it's Matilda. It's Matilda.
Born out of the womb of struggle and rebellion, Calypso, the language of uprising and emancipation from the African slaves on the plantations. Calypso, songs of freedom and revolt. Calypso, from satirical and biting lyrics to the sometimes subtle double entendre, political and social commentary. The story of Calypso, all through the month of October, with features, discussions, analysis, and of course, the music. The story of Calypso, all through October on Power 102, celebrating Calypso History Month. Our history.
I saw Blues move. We know what one new Rising Road, just down the street from Hyatt and the fire station. It's more space, more entertainment, more food, more drinks, with more free and more secure park. The new Kaiso Blues start here. Now at 1D Rising Road.
The Weekend Pass returns to Power 102. Yes.
Like that's what I meant to say. If I come on with my woman, I man in there, like happy. But the other side, if I woman come on with my man, it's very cheap, man. That's gonna happen. That is good. That's too good. Up here, man. Never want to play that. Somebody will say, "Oh, mother, how you fucking up, man." That's it. They fuck up, man. They rather they were on there, but if they catch you with, if they catch that woman is back at if they catch you with that man is not fucking bad. And that's what I try to ask you. The impact. That's what we're going to get. Hot water, hot oil in this thing.
Hot oil.
Grass in the
Hot oil in your tail.
Come right down, man. Listen down, man.
By King Daily Run. So get ready. The Weekend Pass. The Weekend Pass. Every Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. We're in your area and on Power 102. The Weekend Pass is sponsored by Karen Radler.
Ramesh and Leela got the best price for you. Over 60 years of service dedicated for true.
I had to pass that lot. This next lot today. I say, hey, so it had it how the first one they passed. So they take free up now. They're more happy now. I said they're jumping out the closet now like that now. They care no more.
Where's that?
The LBGT law they passed today too now.
I know what they passed there.
They said it's legal for 2 men
Ramesh and Leela Supermarket in East West Corridor, food champions. Gracie San Juan,
to have sex. They make it legal, that part legal. The first time was the law was unconstitutional, they make it constitutional. Now they make it legal now, like 2 men in the one they can do. So I say, my God. Now I ask you, don't you road. How much shit they got? They gotta pass a lot for people like me to have 2-3 men legal. I'm about to be no Muslim. Because I said that men good on that side.
But who
They say that money in it, right?
But who say they may not?
Right. Man say, they say, man, they young boy, that money in it, boy. I drive a Range Rover. I drive a Tavara. I drive a all kind of thing because I that why jumping, boy?
Well, that is called inducement. That is not your lifestyle. That is inducement for you to do something.
I tell you.
That's all right.
Right, that's what bad people over there, boy. That man saying that. Them young man, them not mean it. Them young man, them want no girl. Them young girls saying them want no young boy because them young boy that. I didn't hear that kind of thing. So I can taxi, I hear that kind of thing. But I said, Lord, have mercy. The beauty is nobody know why I walk in there. They won't know nobody. Most of the time, nobody is listening. I said, let us talk about the walk. That's the information I like reading.
This is Power 102. Empowering you.
Oh yeah, Sex Explosion. And of course, Sex Education. Yeah. Sex educate yourself.
Sex educate yourself.
Yeah, sex educate yourself. So that was I tried to get some information based on the kind of talk I hear the girl. And they asked me because I'm working with you. No, cheese and ages, right? It's not easy.
So you're becoming an authority?
Well,
in time to come, there, if you follow certain trends, the trend could lead to a change in lifestyle for persons, as you say, who are straight. There may be a need to fulfill certain amount of desires among women and whatnot. And legislation may have to be passed. We don't know what legislation will pass tomorrow, do you?
True. So true.
We don't know what is in the pipeline as far as legislations. are concerned for the next 5-10 years. We don't know.
We're not even sure what the next second
Next week.
ahead of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true.
So you can't discount anything. I don't discount anything. Long ago, you know, when somebody say, boy, cars go fly, and you will say, boy, that would never happen.
I tell you,
You think you could say that now?
No, you can't say that at all. I saw a video of a guy who said he can't see into the future. There were cars flying and all kind of thing.
But there are people who look into the future and they tell you that one of the major issues planet Earth will have is the inability to reproduce ourselves. And I see it happening now.
Yeah.
The amount of persons today who cannot have children, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a big business built around that, you know, that costs every couple close to $100,000, you know, and there's no guarantee that you'll have a child. You know. And there are hundreds of couples in Trinidad and Tobago who spends $100,000 every year on trying to have a child. You know, take that mathematical figure and multiply it and see what you get. They have conferences for that, you know, and it's all about making money and nothing else. You know.
We cannot.
And when persons come by me for diagnosis and advice, it's costing 1/10 of that, and I could help them, or I can't help them. And I lay it out at the front whether they could get help or not.
I know a few people like that.
Yeah. I know somebody who did it twice, despite the fact that I told him, I said, you could never have a child. No matter what you do. From what I'm seeing here, if this medical results is correct, you could never have a child. You know, that man still went and spent, in those days was $65,000 twice. To face failure twice. And you know, the brute in them who was encouraging him to spend that $65,000 told him, yes, there's a chance that you could have a child. Do you know what it is like to have a result of a semen analysis and it says no sperm? You know what no sperm means?
Yeah.
You sure you know?
Well,
No. I asked the guy that. I say, you sure you know?
just semen.
I say, you have no sperm. None. He bought results that he did 10 years before and all the years he had done. And there was no sperm seed. So which means when he was young, I may have mumps or something.
Okay.
And these people still tell him, yes, you could have a child. To collect $65,000 twice
Jesus.
from this man. But because he wanted a child so badly and he could afford it, that man went and spent $130,000 like that for failure.
I didn't see it to stomach that.
But that's the reality of things. That those are the things that are going to happen. Those are the things that are going to happen. People are going to get rich off it. People are going to use it to control, to dictate the pace of things. There are many things that are going to happen.
The problem young people, the behavioral patterns of young people these days, super sexy, exposed like that, you know. The new trends that are happening.
Explain super sexy to me, please.
Skimpy clothes, see-through clothes, women especially, you know, that sex attraction sort of.
Well, because people think that again, it comes back to exactly what we were saying at the beginning. The first thing that you're attracted to is sight, what you see.
But back in the days, there was a measure of curiosity. You know, you never saw that.
That though, but we were still attracted to the face and features.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to be attracted to the face and features because you've seen everything.
Yeah.
But you're still attracted.
Yeah.
The packaging is different.
How you see that materializing like?
Well,
I
I was listening to a news article yesterday morning, and strange you bring that up. You know, in the 70s, 60s, 70s, there was a big trend with cheerleaders and whatnot. You know, there's a reverse in that trend. There are some teams that don't have cheerleaders again.
I know.
And in 10 years, they'll do away with all cheerleaders and all those things, you know. So maybe there's a reversal of trend that when women think they have to wear skimpy clothes, or not women think, when men think that they have to have women in skimpy clothes, kicking their leg up into the air with two pom-poms, and that should attract the crowd. Maybe women will come out in a steel uniform or steel outfit, and that will attract the crowd. I don't know.
Oh, nothing at all?
No, it's a reversal of trend.
Okay.
They're wearing more and more clothes now. They're not wearing the pom-pom shorts and thing anymore.
Thongs and thing.
No, they're not wearing that. There's a reversal of trend. And in that reversal, there are more men being added to the mix. So there's a reversal of trend. So 10 years from now in the NBA it's affecting, the NFL, and something else. Was three things that affected. NBA, NFL, and
baseball.
Baseball don't have cheerleaders. I remember now. There's a reversal of that trend in those big sports. So what are you going to find in the next 10 years? We don't know. There may be no cheerleaders whatsoever. And maybe women will think that they don't need to glorify themselves by being half naked for people to like them or want them. Or there may be a school of thought that, hey, what? They get rid of cheerleaders and only we better walk down the road naked now.
Where porn movies and magazines like Playboy and things like that.
Magazines are no longer the thing. That's not magazines are not a big seller anymore. It's not a drawing card. It's still there, but the percentage of sales has dwindled. It's the same thing like newspaper. People don't buy newspaper anymore. The subscription for newspaper has gone down tremendously. And I think that's one of the reasons you find that advertisement in that newspaper has gone up. Because less people reading, so they have to make their money from advertising. So remember, it's a business. At the end of the day, it's a business. So the same trend has come about with porn. I remember when magazines and books was a big thing. And then it changed to Betamax first, then VHS.
I had a video club and you had
then,
to hide those things.
Then DVDs, right? And now you don't need anything. You don't need a machine home by you to watch anything.
You just have to have
a smartphone.
Android phone.
Android or Apple.
To be all that smart.
Yeah. And you get it. Who knows what's going to happen next? Maybe you could have it on the palm of your hand. You're sitting here and you're doing so. And don't laugh at that.
Yes, it's true. It's true.
They will have implants that they will put into people's brain. They'll have implants they'll put into your neck. They have implants they'll put into your hand. The new Apple Watch is coming out in the next month.
I can imagine.
And that is fantastic if you see the things that could do. I tell you, only thing you can do is boil water.
Yeah, I saw a guy with a real fancy one some time ago. He likes gadgets, so he had to have this bad watch.
I had one. I gave it to my nephew. I don't like it.
Yeah.
But the Apple Watch you could actually get. You could talk in your Apple Watch. You could do anything.
He's kind of showing off with the video call on his watch.
Yeah, you could do anything. You could do anything. Yeah, with the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
The Apple Watch is the most advanced, but you don't know what's going to come in the next 2 years because they already know what they have. You know.
Yeah.
When they sell you a device now, and the amazing thing, I misplaced a phone, my American number. So I went to the United States on Monday after the cricket. I went to a friend of mine who has a cell store. I said, Gary, I lost my phone and I lost my cell number. Could you get it back for me? I said, yeah, sure. I said, what's the number? I gave him the number. Went on a device, do whatever he had to do, and I got back my number. I said, well, I need a phone, you know. I said, what do you want? He said, I know it's Apple, man. Which one are the Apple one? I said, it's the cheapest one you have, because I go lose it again. The man bring an Apple 6S. Thing have more features than my Apple 8, you know. That phone, I'm driving in the US and it wouldn't allow you to take call or make calls while you're driving. You know. If you call my phone while I'm driving, the phone tells you, Raj is driving, he cannot take calls right now. The phone is telling you you're driving.
Yeah, imagine that.
I said, well, what the hell, how you know I'm driving? When I was on the plane, it tell me you're moving. And it asks you, would you like to take calls now? Because I realize you're moving, but you're not driving.
Right.
I said, what, my phone doing that? And this is a 6, you know. But they are devices that they already have. And the same way that they catch you, the largest industry in the internet is sex. You can't beat that. The sex industry, the dark web and all the things that deals with sex is the largest industry they have out there. So there are devices that it have out there now that is outdated already, you know. But they still have to put it out there and sell it and make some money, and they know what is have coming, you know.
That applies to sex toys also.
To a point, but not really, because sex toys, the advances in sex toy, because of the industry and because it is not as big as the cell phone industry, but there are cell phones that are attached to sex toys now, and vice versa. There are apps that run sex toys. So yes, to a point, but they prefer to have the most famous sex toy ever made is still the most popular sex toy, the Jackrabbit. It is still the most popular sex toy ever. The Jackrabbit.
Jackrabbit, right?
Yep. The Jackrabbit.
So fantasies and the upswing.
I think people I know it have Clayton saying that the Apple 10, yes, the Apple 10 is out, but when it came out last year, you know what my son told me? Dad, don't buy that. You know who I am. I said, why? He said, the first Apple always have a lot of bugs. They'll work it out and the next one will be better. I said, you sure? He said, yeah, do it.
There's people line up by the droves on this phone.
For the night before? No, I could pre-order my phone and it will be there waiting for me. I don't have to line up.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the latest one that comes out, I have one waiting for me, but I don't want it.
The phones and thing and all these e-toys or e-gadgets, they influence fantasies to sex big time, you know?
Yes, it does. It allows you. Okay, for example, you could have your phone, and because you have FaceTime, you could have sex with your partner, and she may be in another country. She tell you what you want done, and you tell her what you want done, and you're watching her doing it, and she watch you do it. Before you start to go on a website on the internet, pay a fee to see that being done by a total stranger. Now you could do it with your wife.
That's an advanced, high-tech way of having phone sex.
Yeah. People used to use Skype, but now you could use FaceTime. You could be in another country. Of course, some people just use that to check out your hotel room to make sure you have somebody else there. Show me around, let me see your room. They're looking for a bra or a panty on the ground. Some people do that. Some people use technology to even spy on their partner.
Yeah, to monitor their partner movements.
So you like the cricket partner, you was worried? Eh? You was worried?
Yeah, I was worried.
No, don't worry about Trinidad too. I worry about somebody else. Yeah.
No,
when you go back Guyana, I go worry about them.
From minute they had your brother going there.
Who? When? Yeah. When? Not during the match, man. You smoke a weed.
No, I'm talking about before.
The position we had them in from the first 5 overs, I knew that was it.
No, the game before, they had us in a little...
That's in Guyana. That's when you
Did I tell you when you bat first in Guyana, you're going to win? Regardless of what the team is?
Yeah.
It has proven right true.
Yes, it's true.
So
it's true.
They have to beat in Guyana.
No, it's not hard to beat in Guyana. Whoever bat first in Guyana is going to win.
Yeah.
They need to change the ground.
That's true.
That's all. If they really want to be champ, they have to change the ground.
Yes.
So, yeah, so technology will always be part of it, and it will advance. I don't know what's going to happen next year.
It's true.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to one of the biggest shows in Europe next 2 weeks, and that will tell me what's going to happen. Because some of the things that we don't know about from China and Japan and Thailand, India, those places is going to be showcased there. And these are countries who are far advanced. Remember I was telling you about artificial intelligence from China?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what I'm going to see, but I'll tell you something. I'll bring back some videos.
Yeah,
I'll bring back some pictures.
Yeah, bring back some pictures.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because it's mind-blowing. I'm really excited about this trade show. It's the biggest one in the world. So, yeah. And trade shows outside of the United States, when they say it's big, you know.
Acres.
There's hundreds and hundreds of booths. In America, you might have maybe maximum 115, 120. Over there, close to 1,000 or more.
A place like France is million.
Go to France. With that, we're gone. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Raj. That's Tuesday's edition of Sexplosion 7 to 9. Right here with me, yours truly, and of course, family comes up next. Raj will be back tomorrow with family from 9 till midnight. I'll be with you Sunday morning as you already know, God's willing. I'll be here on Sunday morning with Andy and the crew.
This is Power 102, empowering you.
Where's this about Clement Sankat's son?
This is his son.
What happened?
You need to be back and try to jump the fence and get
Yeah,
him
oh,
out.
no, in
That
Is what?
big thing.
Miami or
In
something?
Miami.
Yeah.
That big thing on CNN, boy.
Try to get in a plane?
He jumped the fence and he was going and started playing.
Yeah.
When happened?
That time this yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
In Miami?
Yeah.
I was in Miami airport yesterday.
Yeah, he's talking in Miami.
Hijack your plane.
Yeah. He went to hijack.